There are moments in sport that stop you completely. Not because of a score or a record or a championship, but because what you just watched your brain tells you should not be physically possible. A tennis player returning a serve nobody else would even attempt. A basketball player changing direction midair in a way that violates what you think you understand about physics. A moment where you look at the screen and say, "What did I just see?" February 15, 2026. Livigno, Italy. The men's dual moguls competition at the Milan Cortina Winter Olympics. A 28-year-old Japanese skier named Ikuma Horishima hits the second jump of his run, botches the landing, tumbles onto the snow, pops back up somehow, and proceeds to ski the final stretch of the course and cross the finish line going completely backwards. Facing uphill. Moving downhill. Backwards. The NBC commentator on the broadcast heard the moment it happened and said this. "Oh my goodness. I cannot believe my eyes." Ikuma Horishima coming across the line backwards. The clip went everywhere within hours. Tens of millions of views. Comments in every language on earth. People who had never watched moguls skiing a single day in their lives sharing this clip to friends and family and coworkers because it was simply too absurd to keep to themselves. One person on social media called dual moguls the best sport ever. Another said knees hurt watching this one. Someone else said it looked like a car spinning out in the snow and somehow still parking perfectly. And then he went on to win the silver medal. This is the full story of that moment. Not just the clip. Not just the viral second. The whole story. Because the backwards finish is extraordinary. But it is only part of what makes Ikuma Horishima worth knowing. First, let us explain what dual moguls actually is, because most people watching that clip had no idea, and the context makes the backwards finish even more insane. Dual moguls is a freestyle skiing discipline where two athletes race side by side down a slope covered in moguls, which are rounded snow bumps that form naturally on ski slopes or are built deliberately for competition. The bumps are large, irregular, and placed close together. Navigating them at speed requires an extremely specific technique. Your upper body stays as still as possible while your knees absorb each bump in a rapid pumping motion, your skis staying in contact with the snow as much as possible. You also have to hit two large jump ramps built into the course and perform aerial tricks off both of them. Here's what makes it different from a regular race. The winner is not simply whoever crosses the bottom first. The competition uses a judging system where 35 points are divided between the two athletes based on the quality of their turns, their speed, and how well they execute their aerial tricks. So you can beat someone across the line and still lose because your turns were messy or your jumps were low or your technique was poor. You have to be fast and precise and technically correct all at the same time at speeds that make any one of those things very hard to maintain. And this was also the first time dual moguls had ever been contested at the Winter Olympics as its own event. A brand new addition to the Olympic program at Milan 2026. The event itself was making history the day Horishima made history inside of it. Now let us go through exactly what happened, because the sequence of events in the viral clip is more complicated and more remarkable than the clip alone shows. Horishima was in the round of 16 against American skier Nick Page. Page is 23 years old and one of the most talented young mogul skiers in the world. They dropped into the course together. Midway down the mountain, Page carried too much speed into a turn, drifted out of the boundary of the course for a brief moment, and was ruled out of the race. Disqualified. Regardless of where he finished. In dual moguls, leaving the course boundary is an automatic elimination. So technically, at the moment Page went out of bounds, Horishima had already advanced. All he had to do was reach the bottom. He just had to finish. And then Horishima hit the second jump ramp. He launched off it, performed his aerial trick, and came down wrong. He crash-landed on his hips in the snow. For a fraction of a second he was down. The run appeared to be over in the most embarrassing way possible. A fall at the finish line approach after his opponent had already been disqualified. Not even a competitive failure. Just a fall. And then he got back up. He did not get back up facing downhill the way he came down. He got back up facing uphill. Backwards. And rather than try to spin around, rather than correct himself and lose the precious momentum he still had from the jump, he did the only thing that made any physical sense in that half-second of chaos. He kept going. Backwards. Down the remaining stretch of the course. And he crossed the finish line facing the wrong direction entirely, his skis pointed uphill, his body moving down, still in control, still on his feet. He claimed all 35 points from that race. Page was already disqualified. And Ikuma Horishima stood at the bottom of the course, laughing, one arm in the air, looking back up at the hill he had just descended the wrong way. Here is the quote that most people missed in all the coverage of the clip. After the race, Horishima sat down with reporters and described what the course felt like that day. He said the course was icy and the rhythm of the bumps was not consistent. He said usually when he feels good the rhythm is very consistent and it is easy for him to go faster. He said sometimes there was a bigger bump and then a smaller bump and it was hard to remember every bump. And then he said something that makes the whole backwards finish hit differently when you hear it. He said his confidence level was low. His confidence level was low. Going into the run where he would produce the most viral moment of the 2026 Olympics. The run that people are still sharing across the internet weeks later. The run that made a 2010 Olympic gold medalist commentator say she could not believe her eyes. He was not feeling it that day. The course did not feel right. He was not in the rhythm that makes mogul skiing feel fluid and easy for someone who has spent his entire life on bumps. And he still won. He still crossed the finish line. Backwards, yes. But on his feet. Still competing. Still in it. Even when his confidence was low and the course was wrong and his body hit the snow and everything said this run is over. That is not just a funny viral clip. That is a distillation of what separates elite athletes from everyone else. Not the days when everything clicks and the confidence is high and the rhythm is perfect. The days when nothing is working and they finish the run anyway. But the backwards finish was only one race in a long competition day. And what Horishima did after it is the part that gets completely swallowed by the viral moment. After the chaos of the backwards finish in the round of 16, he had to compete in the quarterfinals. Still in the same competition. He beat American Dylan Walczyk by 26 points to 9. A dominant score. Then the semifinals. Against Australia's Matt Graham, a veteran Moguls competitor and one of the best in the world. Horishima won that one too, 21-14. Then the final. Against Canada's Mikael Kingsbury. Mikael Kingsbury is arguably the greatest mogul skier who has ever lived. He has dominated the World Cup circuit for over a decade. He has more World Cup victories in moguls than any man in history. He is the defending Olympic champion. He won the gold medal at the 2022 Beijing Olympics and he won it again in Milan in the individual moguls event. Going into the dual moguls final, he was the most experienced, most decorated, most dominant force in the discipline, meeting a man who had just won a race going backwards. Horishima lost the final 30-5. Kingsbury was masterful. Clean, fast, technically perfect. But even in losing that final, even in being outscored by 25 points by the greatest mogul skier alive, Horishima won a silver medal in a brand new Olympic event, in the most dramatic fashion possible, and had already made the single most memorable visual moment of the entire 2026 Winter Games. And what Kingsbury said about Horishima afterward is worth pausing on. He said Horishima is the best skier in the world right now in moguls. He called it a dream scenario to win a big final against the best. He said it made his gold medal even better. The reigning Olympic champion just called the man he beat in the final the best skier in the world right now. In the same breath as accepting his own gold medal. Let that land for a second. Now here is the part of Horishima's story that nobody is connecting to the viral moment. Because the backwards finish did not come from nowhere. It came from a specific kind of athlete, built in a specific kind of way, who had been falling and recovering his entire career. Ikuma Horishima was born in December 1997 in Gifu, Japan. His parents were recreational skiers. He was on snow for the first time between the ages of 1 and 2, accompanying his family on weekend trips to nearby ski resorts the way other families might go to the park. His father, who held a quasi-instructor qualification, gave him his earliest guidance on the basics: balance, speed on uneven terrain, the fundamentals. By the time he was in elementary school, he had discovered Moguls. Not through a coach or a program or a federation pathway. He just found the bumpy part of the mountain and loved it. He said the Moguls reminded him of an obstacle course at a school sports day. The challenge of navigating irregular terrain at speed was interesting and engaging to him, in a way that a clean-groomed slope was not. He did not have a full-time coach during his early development. He trained largely through self-directed practice and family guidance. He and his father would record his runs on video and watch them back at home, analyzing what he did right and wrong, identifying what needed to improve. No sports science facility. No federation support structure. Just a kid and his family watching video of himself on bumps and trying to get better. He committed fully to Moguls by around age 9 or 10. By 15 he was competing on the FIS World Cup circuit. By the age of 19, in 2017, he won a gold medal in Moguls and a gold medal in dual Moguls at the FIS Freestyle Ski World Championships in Sierra Nevada, Spain. 19 years old. World champion in both Moguls disciplines in the same week. Self-taught, family-coached, from Gifu, Japan. His Olympic journey is a story of patience and persistence in a sport that does not always reward either. He debuted at the 2018 Pyeongchang Olympics. He did not medal. He competed. He gained experience. He came home knowing there was more to build. He came back to the 2022 Beijing Olympics and won a bronze medal in Moguls. His first Olympic medal. He described it as an unbelievable experience. The first tangible reward after years of work and a missed medal in Pyeongchang. But between Beijing and Milan something happened that nearly derailed everything. At the 2025 FIS Freestyle World Ski Championships in Engadin, Switzerland, Horishima twisted his left knee in the semi-finals of the dual Moguls event. He had to withdraw from the final. He missed significant preparation time for the 2025 to 2026 World Cup season leading into Milan. He spent months in rehabilitation, rebuilding knee stability and strength, returning to full training intensity only in late 2025. He went into the Milan Olympics still managing some lingering effects of that injury. A self-taught kid from Gifu who became a world champion at 19, came back from a missed medal at his first Olympics, won a bronze at his second, and then tore up his knee 12 months before his third. And then showed up in Italy and crossed a finish line backwards and won 2 medals anyway. There is something that the dual Moguls silver and the individual bronze together at Milan communicate about Ikuma Horishima that a single viral clip never can. He is consistent. Through the injury and the recovery and the low confidence on an icy course and the backwards finish and the laughter and the quarterfinals and the semi-finals and the final against the greatest Mogul skier alive. He keeps showing up. He keeps competing. He keeps finishing the run even when the landing is wrong and his confidence is low and the bumps are inconsistent and nothing is working the way it should. His sport rewards exactly that. Mogul skiing is a discipline where perfection is the target and chaos is the reality. The bumps are never exactly the same twice. The conditions change. The rhythm changes. Every run is a negotiation between what you planned and what the mountain gives you. And the athletes who survive longest at the top of that sport are the ones who can adapt mid-run, in fractions of a second, when the plan stops working. On February 15, 2026 in Livigno, Italy, the plan stopped working at the worst possible moment. The second jump. The final obstacle between him and the finish line. He hit the snow. He was down. And then he got up. the wrong way. And he went anyway. After the silver medal ceremony, Horishima stood on the podium with Kingsbury above him and Graham below him. A Canadian. A Japanese man. An Australian. 3 different countries, 3 different backgrounds, all built on the same relentless relationship with mogul skiing that eats up people who are not fully committed to it and rewards the ones who refuse to stop. Horishima smiled the whole time. He laughed. He held his silver medal. He embraced Paige, the American he had beaten in the backwards race, who applauded him along with the entire crowd. 2 competitors who had just shared one of the most chaotic moments in Olympic history, embracing at the bottom of the same mountain. He is 28 years old. He has 4 Olympic medals across 2 games. He is World Championship gold. He has a clip that will live forever in Olympic history, not in the highlight reels of perfect performances, but in something rarer. The highlight reel of impossible recoveries. Of athletes who hit the snow at the worst time and got back up the wrong way and kept going. You probably found his name for the first time in the caption of a viral video. But now you know the full story. And the full story is so much better than the clip.